Steve Richards with the CEO Nation. We're here for another Monday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern, live deep dive training. Today we're going to talk about how to stop wasting time and how to accelerate success, and how to basically condense time. It's probably going to be a little bit of talk about focus and a little bit about the other side of that, which is distraction, and really trying to help you guys make an impact in your business. That's why we do this. So as you guys know, with the CEO Nation, literally the whole reason we're here is to help people on the trajectory of being a hustling, entrepreneur, self-employed type person with a business that really controls you and owns you, and help you transform to a person that owns a business that actually runs the business, and the business works for them instead of them working for it. And so the topics every Monday are designed to be things that you can take away. And a lot of it is about perspective and mindset. Sometimes there's very tactical things that we talk about. And either one of those, whether it's strategic or tactical, I want it to be on these Monday calls, something that you can take away quickly and implement. And so today, I think this will help a lot of folks, because I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs, especially the visionary folks, spend a lot of time getting distracted because they're not focused, because they probably don't know exactly what they want. They don't know exactly where they are. And it's really hard to draw a line between the two to figure out, where you need to head next and what is most important. On a day-to-day basis, it's really easy to waste time when you aren't crystal clear on what you should be doing. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. A little bit of housekeeping first. I always talk about this. Let me get this in for you guys. Dropping it in the chat. If you guys need anything, hit this link up, ceonation.com/links. That's everything. I'm not going to run through it, but if you guys want to check out some of our podcast episodes, if you're watching this on the Facebook group and you want to figure out how to join live, because I'm going to take questions and Q&A as we go, and I've got availability. Like the last couple of weeks, if you guys saw, there's a guy here, actually know him locally, Ryan Moeller, jumped on. I brought him on live. We've helped him with some questions, which I think were pretty helpful to him. And so I'm going to make time for that kind of live Q&A here at the end. If you want to jump on, the link to register for this Monday, if it's all free, by the way, is at theCEONation.com/links. Or if you're on this today, there's a couple new faces I see here. And you're wondering about the Facebook group, the link to that is there. Basically every link. If you want a strategy session, talk to us about helping you hire, build your team, coaching, training, just any question you may have from us, all that stuff is at the CEONation.com/links. So, all right, with that, that's it. That's housekeeping. So let's get into the topic for today. And if you guys want, along the way, just use the chat or the Q&A to send me questions or messages while we're rolling here. Let's dive into the topic, which, to remind you guys, like I said a minute ago, we're going to talk about how to quit wasting time and how to accelerate success. So let's talk about a couple of reasons why people waste time. I think this will help you guys maybe self-identify if this is you, and I bet it's most of you guys, because I know it's me. Even now, I know this stuff and I still get caught up in it. It manifests in different ways. But these are more about human nature, these reasons and the things that happen. So one reason that I already alluded to, but that we waste time, this is probably one of the biggest reasons, is that we don't know we're wasting time. We're actually not choosing to waste time. It's happening without us knowing it. So it's like a slow leak in the boat that we didn't know was there. And so over time, we're like, why is the boat getting heavier and moving slower and whatever? It's filling up with water underneath. We don't even know it. And so a lot of our time is leaking out because there's some nicks, there's some, cuts, some holes, some links missing in the chain. And so the reason that typically happens is because we don't have an action plan that matches up with our bigger goals. So if you guys are taking notes, this is probably the first big takeaway for today for you guys to think about and try to implement, or position your mind around to try to help you get something out of today, is this concept of matching up what you spend your time doing on a day-to-day basis with where you want to head in the future, your goals. So a lot of us, our goals become this separate thing, and then we think about what we might need to do to get there, and we start just doing stuff. And so it's like taking little course corrections here and here and there and whatever, and eventually over time we start heading off in this totally different direction because it was all these little bits and little changes along the way. And so what's really funny is, a lot of times we trick ourselves into thinking we're being more productive because we're jumping on things and taking action, and I'm making it happen. I'm taking massive action and I'm doing stuff. And so it's good to do that if it's on the right things, because if you take action on the wrong things, it's taking you down the wrong path. And so I've said this many times, but this is important. When you say yes to something, to one thing, in that moment, you're basically saying no to everything else. And so if you say yes to the wrong thing, even though you think you're being focused because you're picking this one thing and you think you're taking massive action, but if it's the wrong thing, it's literally worse than being distracted with multiple things. It's being distracted with one thing that you think you're focusing on. And so focus and distraction, just think about that. Being distracted is focusing on the wrong thing, because being distracted doesn't mean you're not focused on anything. It means you're focusing on too many things or the wrong thing. And so that's the first big takeaway for today, that pushes us to not be effective with our time. And so I'm going to talk about this next week. It's going to be a bigger topic, but I'm going to scratch the surface of this. But time management is really pain management. And I'm not going to get totally into this topic today, but time management is so interesting. Most of how we manage our time is, we may think it's doing things that we want to do, but the reason we want to do that is to get rid of something we don't want, which is some kind of pain, right? So like, we want our business to be more successful. And so we think we're positively running after that thing. But the reality is, the reason we want our business to be successful is because we don't want to be unsuccessful. And we don't want to be unsuccessful because we're too busy, or we don't have enough control, or we don't have enough money. Right. And so these things, so there's this weird mental dynamic that I'm going to really dive into next week. I'm going to talk about distraction next week at a grander scale. It's a portion of what we're kind of covering today, but next week I'm going to dig into some more really practical stuff that I think is going to be super helpful. But as it relates to today, I just want you guys to realize being focused on the wrong thing will cause you to waste a lot of time, and it slows you down from your success because you're not working towards the thing that you want. So the way to combat that is to be crystal clear of, number one, about where you want to go. Because even if you don't know where you are, but you know where you're headed in the map, you got an address plugged in the GPS. Even if you don't know where you are, you can't create a great plan to get there without knowing both where you're at and where the destination is. But if you know where you're headed, generally you can start trying to head that way. So knowing exactly what your business is doing now is very helpful. But if you don't put that destination in, you're just aimlessly running around, right? And so that's the number one thing, is being super, super crystal clear about what you want. And I think most people, you guys have heard me say, I feel like a broken record. I think most people don't know exactly what they want. They see what other people have and they think, I want to do that. And they don't really understand what it is. Or instead of running towards something, they're running away from something. And that's not a good place to be. That's not sustainable, because at some point when you get away from the thing, you find out you're wherever you are. You'll probably find out, unless just out of pure dumb luck, you happen to run the exact one direction that you needed to get to a place that you want to be. which I seriously doubt is going to happen, you're going to wind up being somewhere else that you didn't want to be, which is what I did in my first business. I grew it and we hit 7 figures and we did all hundreds of deals and we had all this stuff going on and we ran a RIA and we had all these bunches of agents and big clients and whatever. And I looked up at some point and I realized like I was not where I wanted to be at all, or I didn't want to be where I was. That's a better way to put it. And so it's because I just saw what everybody else was doing and I just wanted to make smart decisions. And I was always looking for the best return and I wanted to make the most money on a deal. And I just acted like an investor and not like a business owner. And that led me down the path of chasing a lot of opportunity. And that was in a real estate business, like I said. And so I started chasing returns and profit margins instead of building a business to support what I wanted. I didn't really understand what I wanted. I just knew I wanted to head in this general direction, I thought. And it was really, really bad. And again, the net effect is that it can cause you to waste a lot of time. Because you may not realize it in the moment, but later down the road, when you look up and you find out that you achieved, really what you thought you wanted, like you did a bunch of stuff and you look up and then you find out that's not really what you wanted. It's much of wasted time, or maybe all wasted time. So that's number one. Number two is getting really clear about where you are. And because if you don't know where you are, you can't be super productive in trying to creating a great plan to head to where you want to go. So once we figure out where we want to head and we get really, really clear where we are, I can't tell you guys how many people I talk to don't really know, think about this, guys, like in your bank account. If you don't have a budget and a P&L is looking backwards with a set of reports and a budget is looking forward based on a plan. How do you reconcile where you're at? Because you can say like, today I have so many dollars in my bank account, but you've probably got commitments. You got checks in transit that haven't hit yet. You've got bills that are coming that you maybe not accounting for. You've got commitments that are coming up. If you don't understand your business, like you're probably not planning correctly and you get these little surprises where you think you have cash and then you find out you don't because something tends to always happen, or the tax bill comes or whatever. And then that puts you in this constant state of like not knowing where you are, keeps you from investing in things like people and marketing and yourself because you don't really know how much cash you have. Or you overinvest in this push button new website that's going to do all this cool stuff for you. And then later a couple bills come or some stuff happens and then a client or a project is delayed or whatever your business is. And then all of a sudden, like some stuff came up you didn't expect, some revenue you were hoping for didn't come in, you're pinched and you're like, man, I wouldn't have spent that money had I known this. And you should know this because you should be looking at something knowing how much cash you're going to have, for the next 30 days at a minimum, probably the next 90 days. You should have a pretty comfortable vision towards what that's going to be if things keep going the way they've been going. Now, I know COVID messes with a lot of people's heads. This has been a little bit of a weird year and maybe you don't know, but I think if you guys were more intentional about studying where you're at, knowing if I send out a certain kind of marketing, what's going to happen? What are my assets? How much cash do I have? What are the expenses? What's going to happen in the next 90 days? How many people are on my team? How many clients? I mean, it's unbelievable, guys. So many people, when we sat down, especially when we do the deep audit dive with coaching clients, it's a little painful, but when we dig through, it's crazy how many people don't know how many clients they've had. They don't know how many leads they have. They don't know what their sales conversion, they don't even have a process for pitching. So they don't even know what their sales process is. They just get on the phone and talk to people. They don't have a step-by-step process to convert a lead. They don't know how many leads they have. They don't know where their leads come from particularly. If I tell them go generate 50% more leads, they wouldn't know how to do it. That's not having a business, guys. You might be an entrepreneur and you might be a hustler. And if you're in real estate, which a lot of me see how many people are on. So yeah, like usual, higher than disproportionate amount of people in real estate on here, but a lot of you guys are more like investors, not business owners. And so what's crazy to me is that people don't take the time to take stock of where they are. And if you don't know how many leads you have, you don't know how many clients you've had, you don't know what your real profit margin is, you don't know what your cash on hand is, you don't know what your cost to acquire a client is, you don't know what your lifetime profit or your lifetime revenue on a client. These are things that you have to know or you don't own a business. And I'm not trying to be harsh with anybody, but this is the key to kind of make it all work. So if you don't, like we talked about, number one, if you don't have crystal clear vision of where you're headed, you're going to aimlessly run around. Doesn't mean you won't be successful or not happy. Just means that the deck is going to be stacked against you to get there. And you're more than anything, guys, this is something you might want to write down, put a little star next to, and just think about. Because a lot of you guys are in real estate and the market's been very good to you. Anyone who's been in the business for less than 10 years right now doesn't know anything other than up. And so the market has made a bunch of people look smart. And as the market, I don't see the doom and gloom coming, but as things shift, like right now, direct mail has gotten crazy. The response rates are 25%. They're down to a quarter of what they were, less than half for sure for most people. Mail was crazy last year with the election and then COVID times, and then the U.S. Postal Service had a lot of changeover. A lot of people use texting and calling in real estate. Calling's means so many people are calling right now, and the regulations are changing. And so like your game could be rocked overnight, and you've been kind of running up through this like market going up and making you look really good. But I'll tell you, if you don't have a really crystal clear picture of where you're trying to head, you're gonna have trouble. And this is what I wanted you guys to put a little star next to. The reason that you need to be really clear on where you're headed and where you're at is because if you're not, you're vulnerable. You're at high risk to be vulnerable for a business failure. Because if you don't know which way you're headed, which way is coming or going up and down, and money's just running around, and especially if you're successful. If you're not, this is a reason why you're not, because you don't have your arms around what's going on. If you are successful in spite of that, it's even worse because your lifestyle is going to increase and you're going to get used to making money. And if you don't know how that's really happening, man, if something comes along, you can just get just whacked, knocked out of the game. And you won't see it coming. In fact, it'll probably be happening before you realize it. And you'll continue to like spend on marketing, hire, doing what you do, living the way you live. You won't be saving reserves for it. You won't know that it's coming. So really, really crucial. So today we're talking about not wasting time and accelerating your success. And so like I talked about, being focused on the right things on a day-to-day basis is what is most important for not wasting time. Is that if I said right now to any of you guys on this call, you have 1 hour to get something done. You should be able to look at a set of reports and some metrics in your business and say, based on these metrics, I know where I'm at for the week, the day, the month, the year. And based on these reports over here, I know what my most important clients are right now, or prospects or fulfillments or whatever. And you should be able to pick, maybe you got 2 or 3 different options, but you should be pretty lasered in to know, I know how I'm going to spend that hour right now. Because I know what's most important to get done, because I'm so focused on where I'm headed and where I'm at and the line between the two. That isn't ever a straight line, by the way, that I could go spend time focused on something that will move the needle. And so that's how you quit wasting time, is to know exactly what you should be doing at any given time and know what's going on. Because if you do, anytime you're not working on the things that need to be done that are most important, you will have an anxiety, even if you're happy-go-lucky, kind of like me, where I don't get anxiety about what needs to get done. I get anxiety about hitting our potential. I get anxiety about helping people. I get anxiety about that I'm wasting my time because I'm not fulfilling my purpose. But I don't get anxiety about the nuts and bolts, like the details of a business, naturally. But when it's all laid out in front of me in a dashboard and spreadsheets and metrics, yeah, I'm very conscious of it. And if it wasn't there, I wouldn't be conscious of it. And so if you guys can take away anything today, to be more productive, to accelerate success, like I said, and be more productive with your time, it's to worry about getting really focused about where you're headed. And I'm talking specifically why you're in business, what it means to you, what time, money, authority, resources you're going to get out of it, and why this business exists, which is to support you, by the way, and give you what you need in life. And what are you going to do with that time and money? Where are you going to spend it? Who are you going to spend it with? How much does it cost? How long does it take? What are you willing to put into the business to get that? And so that's at a high level, at a strategic level. This is why this business exists. It's giving me this lifestyle, which means these things with my family, friends, community, church, whatever. Below that, at a tactical level, that means I've got to get this much revenue with this percentage of profit margin, with these kinds of guidelines around it at the end of the next 6 to 12 months. Okay, that now we're talking. You can't build the tactical list of what you want to have in 6 to 12 months from now without knowing what that's going to do for you personally, the strategic, the higher level piece. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, I want to do 100 deals this year. I want to make 100 grand this year. I want to make 100 grand this month, or I want to make 100 grand this week. I mean, whatever it is, if you're just doing it for the money, money is it's never the thing. So this is definitely something to write down. I've talked about this a lot. Just it's fitting to bring it back up, but money is never the thing, and money is never the problem, and money is never the solution. Those are three things that you can. Money's like a hammer, right? And most things in construction, if you're going to build something, it's not very often you need a hammer besides to knock a nail in. Usually you need a screwdriver or a saw or a tape measure, right? There's all these different things you would need. And money's kind of like a hammer. It's very, very rarely, it's just part of the process. So it's not the thing you're after. It's what the money will do for you. It's not the solution. The solution is something that might cost money, and not having enough money. And I hear this one all the time when we're sitting down with people, especially when we're doing the initial audit with our clients. They're like, if I can close this deal, or if I can get this loan, or if I can refinance this thing, they think this money is going to be is either the solution or it's the problem, is a lack of it. That is never the case. A business that's running low on cash has some other problem. Some other thing is causing it to be running low on cash. And so whatever that thing is, right, there's some kind of crack in the foundation. There's some kind of issue. There's a profitability issue. There's a systematic issue. There's a process missing. There's something you don't know, or you're in a bad business that's not profitable or sustainable or something, right? Whatever that thing is that's causing this, if you invest money, whether you just brute force make more deals happen and get some more cash, or you borrow money from friends and family, or you get a loan on your house, or whatever, you take your savings. If you take money will amplify whatever you put it into. And so if you amplify a business that's broken somewhere or missing something, you will have a bigger problem than the one you currently have. So a business that's not doing well, and you're like, man, I just need a little bit more money. I want to get this loan, and get this investor, or make this sale, and I'm going to take that money and everything's going to be better. I will caution you to be really careful, because it's whatever the money represents. So the money you think you want out of your business is not the thing. It's what the money represents. The problem that you think is money, a lack of money, money's not the issue. It's what the money will be spent on to make the problem go away. And as you guys know from being on these, when you fix problems, you don't fix the problem. You find what allowed it or caused it, and you fix that. You don't ever put money into the problem. You put it into the source that caused or allowed the problem. That's where you put the money, by the way. But the money fuels whatever else you're doing, right? And or or a solution that you think is money based, it's not. It's the money might be needed, but I want to caution you guys on that. And so when you guys are figuring out where you want to be and why, and then you're being really honest about where you are, and it just sucks, guys. Like when we do the audits with people, like it takes a while because you just got to sit down. You might need to go look through all your bank statements for the last 3 months or 6 months or a year. You might need to call your accountant. You might need to get in your CRM and just count leads. You might need to open up spreadsheets and create 2, 3, 4 different spreadsheets and notepads and crunch all kinds of information. But if you don't get your arms around where you are with lead gen, sales, and fulfillment, that's every business, right? So how many leads do I have? Where do they come from? How do I rank them? How do I rate them? And then the sales process, what do I do with them to make a business, right? How do I pitch? What do I pitch? How do I close? What are my ratios? What are my closing percentages, right? And then once I get a client, what do I do what does it take to show up and serve that client, or to produce the product that I sold, to ship it or drop it off or bring them in to pick it up, or whatever the case may be, or serve a person, with whatever they bought from you? How do you fulfill that? And so if you can't get really detailed to get your arms around all of that about where you really are and what it takes, you're never going to have a business. You're just going to be hustling and running around. And we talked about that is where like plates are spinning, right? You got a couple plates you can spin. One is really easy. 2 plates is not so hard if you're low coordinated, but you can kind of spin one and then switch to these 2 and switch back to these 2. 4 starts to become a little busy, right? Now you got to spin 2, spin 2, spin 2. But when you get to 5, when you're wearing 5 hats in your business, and that means you have too many clients, and you're doing lead gen, and you're doing fulfillment, and you're doing bookkeeping, and you're doing HR, and you're doing sales, and you're doing marketing, whatever, like you're wearing all these hats, like that's too many plates. Now you got to have strategically figure out when to switch. And when you're spinning one, if it wobbles a little and it's going to spin a little less and you're focused over here, it might fall and break. That's a bad place to get to. And a lot of us are really smart about pushing our businesses and growing it. And growing is different than scaling. And we can push it past the part of where most people can. And at that point in time, that's when we think we're getting somewhere and we're almost there. But the reality is that's when we're adding plates. And when we add more clients and we add more employees, people, we tend to get busier instead of scale and leverage. Like where the more clients we get, the more money we get, the more profit we get, the more people we hire, the easier things get. That doesn't happen when you're growing on the front end, a self-employed gig. The more people you hire and they're coming to you for something and asking you questions, you actually get more stressed and you get busier when you hire more people. Ask me how I know, right? Every time I hired in my prior business life, in my first big business that I grew, every time I hired, I got busier. And every time we brought more clients on and brought more money in, ultimately things got worse. They got harder to deal with. They got more complex, more moving parts, more customer service. There was no leverage in the business, and scaling is all about leveraging. And so back to the topic to kind of bring it home, and then I'll do some Q&A if anybody's got questions. I don't see anyone. Feel free to drop questions in at any time, guys. But if you guys can get clear about where you want to be in your business, where you're at now, which is again is an audit and assessment process that kind of sucks, but it's literally understanding. If I ask you a question, it's not like, oh, I got 5 to 10 of those, or I got 2 or 3 of those, or I do 6 or 8 of those a month, or I spend about 10 grand on this, or I've got 3 or 4 employees, like all these ors. That is not it. You've got 3 employees or 4, and you spend $11,222 a month, right? I think you guys are following me here. And so these are precise answers to questions when you know what we're talking about, which allows you to make precise moves, to make precise adjustments in your business. And then when you study what those moves, those adjustments play out, and you learn from that, you're starting to learn the game, and then you're building a business around it. And it's a lot easier to hire somebody to come in when you understand the game at a higher level. There's a tremendous amount of confidence that comes into being really clear about where you're heading and why, especially if you've got like a business partner or a spouse who's not on the same page with you. It's a really bad place to be. or having some employees or people on your team who don't really line up with where you're headed, but they were here from something before and you haven't really adjusted, or you've kind of changed your mind about what you're doing, or you realize they're not a good fit. And so that business partner who's not on the same page because you guys aren't organized or detailed, or those team members who don't quite fit where you're headed now or where you want to head. So you're feeling like, I can't really do that because I got to take care of this and deal with this. That really weighs like deeply on your brain, that you feel obligated or disorganized with partners and vendors and employees and clients. And so that becomes a huge task in itself to steal your joy and energy from moving toward your success. And so that slows your success down as well too. All these things, is, relating back to today's topic, cause you to waste time, because you're like in the scenario I just gave you, if you're trying to deal with a personality conflict with a business partner, or the fact that you're not on the same page and there's all this other stuff going on because you guys aren't super dialed into where you're headed, or there's a bit of dancing around you're doing with some employees you really shouldn't have, but you don't want to let them go because you're not quite sure where you're headed. So they might fit, but they might not. And it's better having them than not having them, but you don't really need them in the future, or you're worried you won't need them. You've got to put all that to bed. You've got to get organized enough so that you can become confident of where you're headed, and you can make a bunch of better decisions. And that will help you to stop wasting time, because you'll remove a lot of what we call noise in your business. There's just a lot of noise going on around you. So, kind of in summary today, I feel like a lot of times we come to the same conclusion no matter what the topic is, but getting really clear about where you're headed, getting really clear about where you are, allows you to back time a plan. And here's the goal to stop wasting time and really accelerate success, is that you can back time, reverse engineer, because now you have 2 points, right? Like you have these 2 points and now you can draw a line between them and correlation. When you do that, you can start to graph where you are on the line and know what's next and know where you've been. It gives you tremendous confidence in becoming productive. It gives you insight, instead of just like, if you guys have ever, I'm sure you guys would agree, where you have days where you feel like you were pretty busy all day, but nothing got done. That doesn't happen when you're tracking daily metrics and you actually have a plan and you know where you're headed, you know where you are, you know what you're supposed to do today and what needs to get done this week, and how that rolls up to the month and how that month fits in with your quarter and what you need to be doing on your business and in your business at the same time. That stuff doesn't happen very much. Now it does from, an hour here and an hour there, or maybe a day goes by and that happens a little bit. But the reality is you're probably distracted for something because maybe you're not really excited about the goal, or you're unclear of where you are because you've made so many changes in your business. Now your current position has changed a lot and things have been moving, shaking, changing, and you're not tracking it very well. So you've lost sight of the original audit you did to get clear about where you are, and or this vivid, what you want to do over here. Maybe now that you're getting closer to it, which happens, it's like the horizon. No matter how fast you run towards it, for how long, it stays the same distance away from you. So when you run towards these goals, most of us don't quite get to the goal. Along the way, when we have success, we start moving the flag, right? So we have new goals. So if that's happening to you, you might find yourself in the middle of like some level of success or forward progress. You might find yourself kind of fluttering again. And it's because you lost sight, because you haven't continued to track where you are. So as you move forward, exactly where you are at any given time. And you got to have a way to track that. And then you got to keep refocusing on where you're headed as that view changes as you move forward, right? And so if you can do those things, you'll become way more likely to be able, at any given point in time, be able to say, what needs to happen today? I know what we got to do today. And I know we got to do this week. And I know where I'm hoping to end up for the month in multiple categories. And we talk about KPIs a lot. If you don't have our KPI lead magnet guide, it is literally this free guide that we just give away. And it's on the ceonation.com/links. You guys can find it there. Go download that and watch it. It's 25 minutes. It's got a worksheet with it. it'll really help you guys. But it talks about how the numbers you track in your business aren't just your bank account balance. It's not just your goals at the end. Those are like lagging results that you will work to some period of time, and then you'll just see, did it happen or not? And so what you need to be tracking is the activities that are leading up to the lagging results. So activities and results. And so I know that if I do these certain phone calls and drop mailers and pay-per-click ads, and then when I get people to call me, I say these certain things to them. I ask these questions, and then I pitch a certain way. I'm going to get a certain amount of clients who eventually turn into a certain amount of revenue. Those are the results. The activities are the things I do over here that lead to these results. Well, I can't really build that kind of model out if I don't get my bookends, right? And so, again, just to reinforce, helping you guys try to not waste time and be more impactful about your success. I can't urge you any more than to get organized and get on it and track what's going on in your business. The KPI guide will help you a lot to understand. And here's what's at stake is that, man, every day that's going by, guys, and you don't have what you want, you don't get those days back. They just slide by and time slides by. And then you're going to be more and more frustrated, more and more resentful about things. And you're just losing time and losing opportunity. And I don't really know how to stress it enough. It's hard when it's like one way, when I can't see you guys, or if we're in a live event. I could probably stress the point a little more and kind of talk to you guys about what it means, but just think about what it means to you or your family. More importantly, the family you have now, or the one that you hope to have in the future potentially, or the community that, if you don't have a family, or the community that you're a part of. If you aren't going to build the kind of business that you know that you can, you're letting all those people down, which should make you realize how much you're letting yourself down. And when that's what's at stake, I don't know how you can get much more motivated than to get on top of really planning things out to be effective in your business and to quit wasting time. So, all right, guys, let's see who's got questions. I don't see any rolling in. I got a few minutes here. I got 10, 15 minutes if we got some good questions. Partnerships, marketing, finance. What do you guys got? I'm gonna see if I can try to look at Facebook while we're talking. See if anybody's posting on there. Fair game, free coaching right now. Apparently all you guys as businesses are just crushing. You guys don't need anything. If that's the case, we should turn the screen, bring you on. You guys can start teaching. Let's see. Yeah, what's up, David Rollins? He says, preach, brother. Marley, this is me. He said, LOL, what's a P&L? All right, cool. I don't see questions on here either. If you guys need anything, it's at the link that I posted out there. I'll put it on the Facebook group too. I'm gonna put it in there right now, actually. Before we jump off, if you guys don't have questions, who's killing? Put it in the chat for you guys that are on. Who's killing it right now? Who's hitting their goals already? You know that literally we're a couple days away from being the end of the first quarter. It's insane to me. The year is a quarter over already. All right, pop it in there real quick. Hold on while I type this link in. Okay, cool. Let's see. Yep, Brian said he's not quite on track, but things are going well. So yeah, put in there. Tell me, how close is that? You within 10%, 20%? Let me know. Valencia said, what percentage of your budget should be set aside for training development as a CEO of your business? That's a hard one. It depends on how, in the beginning, when you don't know a business, kind of 100%. You're just like, if you didn't know what you were doing, and Alencia, since you and I've talked, I know a little bit about your business. But in the beginning, when you're learning a business, like 100% of your budget goes to that, right? So on one side, in the beginning, when you pay for a training, when it's the first thing you've ever done, whether that's cash payment or time payment, taking time away from other things where you could make money to learn something, that's basically 100% of your budget, down to typically at a minimum at any given time, someone's going to be, I mean, when you get into an ultra successful business, these numbers might go down in the single digits, but it's going to be maybe 5 or 10%. But it depends on where you are in the pendulum of, you got $1 million business and you're trying to grow it to 2 million. And if you're not putting, 5 or 10, 50 grand to 100 grand into investing in yourself and what's going on in the business. And that's, by the way, that's potentially not just cash, but it's your time as well. So, I don't know if you'll be moving forward as fast as you want to. But when you get to those higher multi-million dollar businesses, like those numbers again might get down into the single digits that you spend on it. But now you're going to be paying to send your people. You're going to be buying training for your people. You're going to be getting licensing for your people. You're going to be going to more advanced, you're going to join groups, peer groups. And so there's a lot of money or a lot of different items that go into that bucket you're talking about, which is basically self-development, self-improvement, training, coaching, all that stuff. But, anywhere in between, it's a sliding scale from single digits to 100% of your budget in the beginning. It depends on where you're at in what you're, in what part of your business growth you're in. But like you and I talked about the other day when we talked, there is no time when you don't have a coach and a mentor and probably multiple people. I do have a problem though with folks who are spending the majority of their available cash. Like if you already know how to run a business and you're spending such a significant amount of money towards that, that's probably, if you're spending 20-30% of your revenue towards just growing and learning, and you already have a business where you're profiting and doing regular transactions, I'm going to say that's probably too high. Unless that is very focused and you know exactly what your return is going to be. An easier way than saying what the percentage is that, and this is exactly how I personally do it. And this is how we design things with the CEO Nation. Everything we do, if we sell anything, and a lot of stuff we don't market, you don't find it unless you get to know me or us. There's a few things here and there. Sometimes we pitch on other people's, like on a podcast, or someone has us on a webinar and we do something. We don't open a lot of training things that we sell. We don't push a lot of different programs, publicly. And so we're probably a little different, but we look to give a 10 times return on anything that we sell to a client. And that's because that's how I personally look at any expense like that. I want to know how I can make 10 times my money back. And when I invest in myself, I want at least a 10x return. When I invest in people, I'm looking for anywhere from like a 2 to 6 times return. And when I'm investing in marketing, depends on the business you're in, but I'm probably looking for a 3 to 10 times return. And so if you're spending money on yourself and you're getting a 3 times return, like I spent $1,000 on a training, I know how I can go make 3 grand, or I spend whatever 10 grand with a coach and it helps me make 30 grand, or I spend 100 grand with someone and I know how to make 300 grand. That's probably okay, but I would really be leaning more towards the 10 times return. When I invest in marketing, if I can make $3 back for every dollar I spend in a consistent model, not just get lucky once or twice, I'm starting to feel good. But I would really like to push that to 5 or 6. And it's very different for different businesses. Some people can get a 10, 20, 30x return, which is silly. But they can generate leads really cheaply, and then they have a super cheap fulfillment. But it's not too different of a return, right? Like I'm wanting 3 to 5 to 6, 8, X return. So if I spend $10,000, I probably want to make 30, 40, 50 grand, if not $100,000 over time in my business. Now, when I invest in people, I'm looking for a 3 to 5x return on almost most positions. The more people get into business development, the easier it is to get a multiple return. So if I'm going to cut someone, a guy or a gal in sales, and their percentage might be whatever they end up making, I might be paying them 10% of gross revenue, which means I'm going to get a gross 10 times return, but my net return after I pay for marketing and other stuff might be less. But if they're going to make $100,000, and to make that, because they're getting 10% of gross revenue, they might need to produce $1 million, right? And if my net, after I pay them 10%, and then I put maybe 10, 20, 30% into marketing and 10, 20, 30% into the administration of the business, I've got, 30 to 50% left over. And so technically they're only getting paid when they sell, maybe. But if they're making 100 and I'm making 3 to 500, I got a 3 to 5 return off my salesperson, right? 3 to 5 times. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I know I'm trying to watch Facebook and this at the same time, and there's a weird delay. And so Alencia, to kind of, and I'm trying to give us a broad answer because I know other people are paying attention to this, and then there's going to be a lot of people that will watch the replay. And so when you guys look at investing in yourself and marketing or people, try to understand what the multiple back. And this is really important. How well does it line up with what you're trying to do right now? And so there might be a marketing channel that comes along that you want to spend money on, or a potential hire comes into your life, a person you might want to hire onto your team, or there's a business, a personal development, like coaching opportunity. And you may look at those and think, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I want to buy this new training program that came out, or I want to try this new marketing thing, or I want to hire this person who I wasn't looking for, but they came into my life as a referral. And it seems like I could get a good return on it. So the second thing that I do to kind of complete my decision-making process is, if I make this investment that I will only make, number one is, can I make some kind of multiple return? Like I talked about. Number two is, does this get me to my goal faster if I invest in it? That's it. Point blank. Because if it's going to make me go slower to my goal, I don't care what the return is. Because if my goal matters, now, if your goal is set up wrong, we talked about this, most people don't know what they want. So this is a hard one. You got to have that part figured out. But it allows you to say yes to the things that will help you get to where you need to go. It's really easy to make an investment when you know it will get to where you want to go faster, and you know that you're going to get some multiple back on the money you spend. Right? Does that answer your question, Valencia? If you can get to those two pieces, but the problem is, if you don't know yourself or your business well enough, or you're not committed enough to take the action behind coaching or training or whatever you're going to spend money on, then you aren't going to be sure what your return is going to be. And if you don't know where you are and where you're headed, you don't know if this will get you there faster. So if you don't know those two things, that's why you got all these options, and like this program and that training and this marketing idea and this potential hiring, this, I don't know if I should hire this versus this, an admin versus sales. Like, I don't know where I'm at. That's just because everything's disorganized. It's the same reason people waste time, like I talked about earlier. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so Sean wanted to know, along the lines of coaching, how do you know who's a good fit, and how do you know if you'll make the money back? You don't know if someone's a good fit. Part of it is, there's this, like, I hate to call it like a leap of faith, but there's venues like this when you're on a Zoom and you can see someone face to face and live. It's one of the reasons I like Clubhouse a lot, because people can't have flashy production. When you hear their voice, you just resonate with that person. It's so much easier when someone talks, especially when they talk for more than a few minutes and you see them several times, in a venue like Clubhouse. It is really easy to understand who's authentic and to know if you have a connection. And so there's probably a lot of people that you can invest in, Sean. So this is like the diet, that will help you lose weight, or the CRM that's the best, or the best marketing to try. Here's the best of whatever the decision is on a coach or whatever you're going to pay for. The best one is the one that you're going to connect with and use. And so people are always asking about what CRMs to use and everything. I'm like, the best CRM is the one you'll actually use, because all of them suck a little and all of them have some pros and cons. With a coach, you know how many people, it's unbelievable. It's well over 90% of people that pay for coaching and training don't take it full advantage of it. And training is worse than coaching, because at least in coaching, there's some kind of connection. But in training, people constantly buy stuff and it makes them feel like they did something to make the commitment to buy it. And that alone makes them feel like they took some action and did something. And they don't even like log in and watch the trainings or download it or attend the webinar. How many webinars you guys signed up for and then you didn't attend? Right. And I'm sure some of you guys have bought training that you never used. And so I'll just answer it this way, Sean. I would work with someone that you connect with, that you feel like is authentic, that you feel like it has been where you are trying to go. So they're relatable and they have relatable experience and knowledge of what you need. And then this is a really important one for me, that you personally connect with that person. Like you enjoy hearing them speak. You're generally excited about stuff they're teaching you. If you get to connect with them live, which I would never, ever hire a coach or a mentor that I couldn't get access to, that I haven't seen them live on some kind of venue like this or heard them live. I wouldn't sign up for somebody that isn't willing to get on a Zoom or a phone call with me and talk. If you just got to buy in and then get cattle called into something later and you don't ever really get to connect with that person, if you don't have any real connection, I wouldn't invest in it. So that's how I would choose, is someone that you relate to, someone you think's been where you're trying to go, and someone generally like you feel like you want to have a relationship with, that you feel connected or drawn to. I think that's really important. And then I would go back to what I told Alencia. I would look for someone that has a product that I think gives me a return, a multiple return on the money over a period of time, and that takes me closer to what my goals are. So I hope that helps. All right, cool. Anybody else got anything? You know, I got the power here. I can click buttons and like turn you live in front of everybody. We're already running a little long though. I'm watching time. If anybody's got anything, pop it in now. Otherwise, I put the link on the Facebook group. It is posted in here again for the ceonation.com/links, LINKS. If you guys need anything, we can set up a strategy call with us or access whatever there. We try to put most things there. I did mention something about a live event coming up. That's getting a little closer. We might announce that soon. It's going to be a 2-day here in Indianapolis. It's going to be pretty intimate. Probably going to be maybe as low as 15 or 20 people, probably no more than 40 or 50. Just depends. I'm working with the venue right now. So that'll be cool. I should know that maybe in the next week, hopefully 10 days, maybe. So we'll be back on next Monday. In fact, I forgot. I think we got a cool treat next week. And I don't think Bobby's not on, but we've got some guys that we connected with who have a growing real estate business. And they were touching base with us on some thoughts on growing their business. And instead of doing a strategy call with them, we're going to book them on to this. So next Monday, we're going to have some guys on to talk about who to hire, when to hire, how to grow, marketing. We're going to talk about like specifically, like, should we hire VAs? Should we do things ourselves? Should we outsource? And so that'll be a really cool call. We'll be sending out some emails and some invites to that, but that'll be next Monday, 3:30 Eastern. So you guys want to tune in on that if you want to hear about growing, scaling a business, specifically about, making key hires, building your team. When you get a little bit of success, how do you lean into that to grow it, but don't get so busy that it sucks you in and you become, proportionally busy compared to your success. Like as the income and profit grows in your business, you want your time to actually decrease. Like that's the scale where you get an exponential growth. So many of us get sucked into, like I said before, the more clients we have, the more people we hire, the busier we get, and the more into the black hole we get sucked, right? Where time, there is no time. It stands still. Like you can work all day, every day, 7 days a week, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And the workload never changes. It's like a vacuum. You just go in there and it just sucks the lifetime energy out of you, right? Because you don't have your arms around where you are, where you're headed. And so you don't know when you hire people, when you bring more clients, like you don't know what it means for your business. So I hope today was really helpful for everybody. I know we ran a little bit over an hour, but I think wasting time is a massive, massive issue in businesses. I think most people aren't super productive, and I do think it slows down your growth and success. And so I hope this was helpful. Reach out to us, guys, if you need something or you think we can help in some way. It's good seeing all of you that are on. What's up, Deborah? Hey, what's up, Jim? Jim says awesome content as always. Dude, you're like definitely president of the fan club. You've always got positive things to say. I love it. Appreciate you, Jim, for sure. All right, guys. If you guys, like I said, if you need anything, reach out. We'll be back next Monday, 3:30. Watch the Facebook group. If you're not in there, go jump in there now. And you guys will see invites for it. I think it'll be a great one. And check out everything that's at the link that I put out. And that's it for it today, guys. Good having everybody. Talk to you guys soon.